I am Latasha with Awards Buzz, and of course, I've been totally looking forward to speaking with you about just all of your great work and all of the success of this series. From Boiler Point to Adolescent, one of the top and most watched shows on Netflix. Philip, how did we get here? Like, I always love to go back and have an opportunity to be, taken on that journey with you. So, how did we get here today?
Wow. Okay. I mean, I like the shortened version of it. It's because it's been 30 years. I've been 30 years in this industry. I started out as an actor
Mhm.
when I was 15. I got my first professional role, and from then on, really, from before that, I was kind of obsessed with how movies are made. And one of the first movies that I ever watched as a kid was The Goonies. And I remember getting a VHS of that movie, and it had like behind the scenes of how they made it on the VHS as like an extra thing. And I
Yeah.
remember watching that and being like, okay, this is someone's job. Like people, this is someone's. I want to do that. And
Mhm.
so I sort of got into the acting side of it. And yeah, like I say, professionally at 15, and then I just sort of went into the industry really passionate about the work and how it's all made and things like that. And I think I never really thought to myself, oh, one day I want to direct, because someone like myself, I come from a very working class background, and none of my family are in the industry.
Yeah.
And so I was coming at it from, I was completely an unknown space, so I sort of had to learn myself. And directing was never uh in my mind. I always told myself, you'll never be a director, because directors are highly educated people who have been to film school, and they know every movie that's ever been, and they know all of the technical side of things. And I put these directors on a huge platform,
Pedestal.
a
Yeah.
pedestal, yeah. And so I was always like, that's never going to be a thing. But there was just this thing, like, you know, eating away inside of me, which is like, yeah, but maybe one day you could try it. Um,
Mhm.
and it was kind of like, my acting career wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. It was going really well at the beginning for the first, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. I was doing really well. And
Mhm.
then I got a little bit complacent, and I thought I was just going to walk into auditions and get the part straight away. And when you start thinking like that and have that mindset, you it doesn't, yeah, for me anyway, it didn't sort of work out. And I became a little bit bitter, and I
Mm.
wasn't happy with myself, and I wasn't happy with all my friends who were becoming successful.
Yeah.
And I went into this a bit of a dark hole, really. And I but at the same time, so I started working as a chef and working in kitchens, and I thought, my acting career is probably done. I'll just focus on this career and give it everything I've got as a chef. And I did that. And I did
Okay.
that for 12 years. But the whole time I was doing it, I was still had one eye and one ear on this industry, and just being like, but you know, gutted that didn't work out. I wish I was still a part of it. And then I thought to myself, let me just make some short. And I'd had all these ideas, and obviously working as a chef as well, I had ideas for things set in kitchens. And then I was I was I was drinking quite a lot, and I've been sober for 10 years now.
Oh my
um
God, congratulations. That's huge.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was this year, actually, March this year. I was 10 years sober. So yeah, a huge achievement, really. It's not been easy, but like at the same time, the dark hole that I was in there, I thought that was the worst thing that could happen. And then I'd been sober for 1 year, and my mom suddenly passed away. She fell down the stairs, and she died instantly. And it was
Okay.
that moment for me that was like, okay, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen now? I'm just gonna I'm going to give this directing thing a go because what have I got to lose? Like, honestly, what have I got to lose? If it doesn't work out for me, then so be it. It wasn't meant to be, but I'm going to give everything to it.
And
And
you
I,
definitely did. You definitely did with the series. But did you ever imagine or visualize this particular project will end so much success? Like, could you ever had imagined, this series going as far as it's gone?
no, not in a million years. We made this show in a small town in the UK, and we were making something from very early on, even when we were conceptualizing it and talking about it and writing it. It was like, it's an important uh story to tell, certainly from the UK, because you know knife crime is quite a it's prolific in the UK, but it wasn't about knife crime. It's not about that. That is part of the story, but ultimately it's about toxic masculinity. It's about social media and the power of social media. It's about, lots of these things, incel culture, and that is a global issue.
Yeah,
And, when we were making it, we were hope, everything you make, you put everything into it and you think, I hope people get it, I hope people like it the way we are passionate about it. And so when you put something out, I'm always very nervous about it going out to the public. I always say, like, it's like we're sending our child off to school, sending them out into the wild. It's like we love our child, but
yeah,
what are the people that they're going to encounter going to feel about our child? So it's really nervous. It's a really nervous process, and that's with everything you do. And then we put it out on the Thursday. It came out, and then you're like, oh, okay. It has a lot of views. It's had a lot of views, and then next day it's had a lot more views. The next week it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, and it's still, even now, it's been out a little while, and it's like still getting messages from people all over the world, like, places I wouldn't have imagined.
what do you think? Do you feel like it was, the light being shined on so many real life issues that resonated most with the viewers? Like, do
I
you
think
feel,
so, yeah. And I also think, the one of the most important things about it was it was incredibly relatable, and I think it opened a lot of people, whether you're a parent or not,
yeah,
whether you're like a teenager, you can watch the show, and this could happen to any of us.
yeah,
It's a split-second decision, uh, from from somebody who has changed not only their life, not only the victim's life, but a multitude of people around them forever.
yeah,
And we don't realize how sudden life can change. So I think that in part is what I think, people can, they look into themselves, as parents. Are we doing enough for our children? Are we listening to our children? Are we speaking to our children enough? And I think that's where it's resonated the most, I think. And I'm incredibly proud of the show and everyone who worked on it. And it's just every day it's blowing my mind.
yeah. You have from a director standpoint, you have a very special niche. That is your infamous one-shot approach. I want to know specifically for this particular project, like, why did you feel like it was so important to place so much emphasis on shooting that particular shooting style, right? Because obviously I'm not a director, cinematographer, EP. I talk for a living. But what was it that, clicked and sparked in you? Like, you know what? This is the angle that I'm going to take with this project as well.
Well, it with this particular project, it started with that in mind before we'd even got a story. And Stephen Graham and I, we sort of came up with the story in the back of a cab. Stephen, like, basically just told me this idea in the back of a car,
Mhm.
and we sort of ran with it in that way. But it doesn't lend itself. This specific technique does not lend itself to every story. It has to first and foremost, it can't be at the forefront of a project. It has to be, it has to serve the story, and it has to serve the characters. It can't be like this is, it's all we're showing off and it's a spectacle, because otherwise it becomes a bit of a gimmick, I think. And I'm very conscious, very very conscious of, like, you know what I want is for the audience to watch these performances and to feel this story, and then maybe at the end of the episode feel like, wait, was that all in one shot?
Yeah.
And almost forget about it. It
Hmm.
also, what it does is, I think, subconsciously it draws an audience in. It draws the viewer in a way that we can't take our eyes off the screen, because there's no cuts.
Yeah.
There's no moments of like, we go from this scene, which is really intense, to then we go to a scene from outside, which is a different, a different feeling for the audience. So it gives the audience a chance to breathe. With
Yeah.
this, it makes an audience sit up and pay attention in a way that no other, technique really does. And that's kind of what I wanted to get from it. I wanted to take the audience on a journey, and I wanted to take them on this ride in real time, from start to finish. This is 1 hour in real time, and we're so used to, watching things with one eye on our phones and one eye on the TV, or one eye on the screen. And
Yeah.
I wanted people to just pay attention for that 1 hour, and hopefully then go on to the next hour straight away. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Um,
it's a yeah.
And I definitely want to applaud you for that because honestly, this truly is one of those projects on, streaming networks, like streaming platforms, television, networks that you just simply couldn't walk away from. Even if I found myself like, okay, well, I want to grab a drink or like grab some popcorn for the next episode, like there isn't a minute, like literally, it's just one of those shows that I feel like in 1 minute loss, you're going to lose a lot. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I applaud you with doing that, but I also want to tap into like some of the complexities that you faced, as a director. Like, were there any particular scenes and or episodes that really were difficult, for you to push through and execute excellently on?
I mean, each episode had its challenges. It's a really complex way of working, and you have to really really prep in advance. Like, we prepped months and months in advance before we had any actors on set. Myself and my cinematographer Matt Lewis, we would be just sat in a room in an office, and we would just block out how we were going to shoot this thing, and place the actors where they needed to be. And then when we get to rehearse with the actors, which we did 2 weeks rehearsal, and then we did a week shoot where we shot twice every day. So we shoot the whole episode twice a day. And so the challenges with that is, like, for me, I want it to always feel completely real and believable. And it's like, how do we get from, in episode one, how do we get from a house to the police station in a matter of no more than 3 or 4 minutes? Because we have to keep the audiences on their toes. And when we're sat in the back of a vehicle and we've got three characters, there's only so much you can show and say and do. So it was important that we get to the police station quickly. So then we decided we needed to build the police station in a studio, and then where the studio was, we then find the house 3 minute drive away. So it's finding all of those technical things, and really sort of mapping those things out. And then, for example, in episode 2, we have to jump out of a window, and Jack Thorne and Stephen would write these things in the script, and they'd send them to me like as pages, and be like, do you think we can do this? And I'm like, I read that like we jump out of a window, and then I immediately say to Matt, we can do this, right? He's like, yeah, we can do this. Why not? We're just up for the challenge. But every step of the way, there's obstacles and there's challenges with the one take. Especially when you don't cut at all. Like, there's certain ways that you could blend cuts in the edit to make it feel like one take. But we decided to do the whole thing without any cuts, and so that brings a lot of challenges. How do you transition from coming out of a house onto the front of a van, and then drive for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was. It changed each time because of the speed of the van and traffic lights and all of these things. And you've got the elements that you're not in control of, sometimes can slow you down. And then obviously you've got like actors who need to hit their marks and actors who need to say their lines at the right time. And everything is really planned to within an inch of its life. But then if something goes wrong, like, I would always say to the actors, whatever you do, if you fluff a line or if you say something wrong or you walk the wrong way, don't, whatever you do, stop the whole thing. Don't be like, I'm so sorry, can we start again? Because we might be 45 minutes in and then we have to go back to the beginning. So if you mess up, we mess up in life all the time, right? Nobody speaks perfectly. But what I said to all the actors was, make sure you have each other's backs, because if someone forgets a line, you might be able to prompt that line that brings it back in another moment, and it just then becomes, it's in a different place or whatever. So, and the audience don't know what's coming next. Only we do. And so, they might get absolute gold. Things like that, things like the drone, connecting a camera to a drone, letting the drone fly off, and then landing the drone and disconnecting the camera.
Oh,
Those things were challenging because we had like big problems with the weather. We had really, I think it's probably the most windiest weather I've ever been in my life, and it just so happened to be on the last 3 days of that shoot. So we couldn't fly the drone for certain amounts of time, and it was just like you're up against it. You're always up against it, and then you've got hundreds and hundreds of extras in the school who are school kids, and you
yeah.
have to make sure that they're in the right spot at the right time. So
Oh,
yeah, lots of challenges.
oh my God. But you executed everything
We did
perfectly.
it. We
I
did it.
can sit here and talk with you forever, but I know you have a busy day ahead. I do want to truly thank you so much for your time and speaking with me.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on all of the success this series has brought back and everything that's to come for you moving forward and in this upcoming award season. Thank you so much, Philip. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day, okay?
You too. Take care.
Talk to you soon.